Lionel Messi will be 38 years old at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. 38, the age when most footballers have been retired for years. The age when the greatest players in history were giving farewell interviews, not preparing for tournament football. And yet here we are. Here, Argentina is. Building their entire World Cup strategy around a man who will be playing his football in Miami, in a league that, with the greatest respect, is not the Premier League, not La Liga, not Serie A. And nobody in Argentina wants to talk about it. Nobody in the Argentine Football Federation wants to say out loud what every analyst and every physiologist and every honest football person privately knows. That Lionel Messi, at 38, playing 6 matches across a month at a World Cup, the most physically demanding tournament in the world, is a different proposition entirely from Lionel Messi, at 35, lifting the trophy in Qatar in 2022. That is the truth Argentina refuses to face, and it is time somebody said it. Let us start with what we know about Messi right now. In 2023, Lionel Messi made the most unexpected decision of his professional career. He left Paris Saint-Germain, a club where he had struggled, where the project had never clicked, where the football was never really his, and instead of returning to European football, he went to Inter Miami, in MLS. The decision shocked most of the football world. Not because MLS is a bad league, but because MLS is not the environment in which a player maintains the sharpest edge of top-level readiness. Messi at Inter Miami has been extraordinary within the context of MLS. He has scored goals. He has created moments of magic that have made American football fans fall in love with the sport. He has done what only Messi can do, made you stop whatever you were doing and watch. And Inter Miami, built around him, has become the most commercially successful club in American soccer history. But here is the question that Argentina's football establishment refuses to ask publicly. Is MLS-level football sufficient preparation for a World Cup? Is playing against the best MLS can offer, which is not the same as playing against Premier League defenses, Champions League midfields, or La Liga pressing systems, is that enough to keep a 37-3, 8-year-old body sharp enough to perform at the highest level for 6 consecutive World Cup matches? The answer, based on everything we know about elite sport physiology, is complicated. And complicated is not the same as yes. Messi's genius has never been primarily physical. This is the argument his defenders always make, and they are right to make it up to a point. Messi was never the fastest player on the pitch. He was never the strongest. His genius is positional intelligence, first touch, vision, timing, the ability to read a game 3 seconds before anyone else and be in exactly the right place to exploit what he has already seen. Those qualities do not expire at 38, the way raw pace expires at 32. But they do require a base level of physical conditioning that allows them to function. They require the ability to press for 90 minutes across 6 matches in a month. They require recovery time between high-intensity matches that a 3-8-year-old body processes differently from a 2-8-year-old body. They require freedom from injury, and the older a body gets, the more vulnerable it becomes to the accumulated stress of tournament football. In 2023-24, Messi missed significant stretches of the MLS season with injury. His ankle, his calf, his availability has not been the consistency you would want to see from a player heading toward a World Cup at 38. The Argentina national team managed his minutes carefully during qualifying. He did not play every match. He did not always complete 90 minutes. And the federation has been deliberately protective of his workload in a way that raises questions about whether that workload can be sustained across an entire World Cup. Let us look at the historical precedent. Because the data on elite outfield players performing at elite level at the age of 38 in major tournaments is not encouraging. Matthäus played in the 2000 European Championship at 39. He was not the same player who had won the World Cup in 1990. He was a capable performer. He was not a dominant force. Francesco Totti played his last competitive football at 40 for Roma, but his last major tournament appearance was at 36 at the 2006 World Cup, which Italy won. Totti contributed. But Italy's success was built around a collective system, not around maximizing Totti's individual brilliance. Zlatan Ibrahimovic returned to international football for Sweden at the age of 39 in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. He played 4 matches. He suffered a serious knee injury in the 3rd. He never played for Sweden again. Cristiano Ronaldo, the closest comparable in terms of physical dedication and self-maintenance, played the 2022 World Cup at 37. He scored 1 goal in the group stage. He was substituted during matches. He was not the player who had been decisive in tournament football for a decade. Portugal reached the quarterfinals and went out, and most objective observers agreed that Ronaldo's role in that Portugal team had shifted from decisive force to symbolic presence. That is the uncomfortable precedent, and Messi will be a year older in 2026 than Ronaldo was in Qatar. Now here is where the Argentine conversation becomes genuinely difficult, because Argentina is not just hoping that Messi performs at the 2026 World Cup. They are structurally dependent on him in a way that no other major footballing nation is dependent on a single player. Their tactical system, their psychological identity, their narrative as a team, all of it runs through Lionel Messi. He is not just their best player, he is their system. When Messi is at his best, Argentina are one of the best teams in the world. The 2021 Copa America, the 2022 Finalissima, the 2022 World Cup, all of it was built on Messi, performing at an extraordinary level, and a group of players finding their absolute best around him. Julian Alvarez, Rodrigo de Paul, Enzo Fernandez, Alexis, Mac Allister, these are world-class players. But in the context of the Argentina team, they are players who thrive in a system that centers on Messi. What is that system without Messi at his best? That is the question nobody in Argentina wants to model. Nobody wants to run that scenario. Nobody wants to sit down and honestly assess what Argentina looks like if Messi is playing at 70% of his peak capacity, which, for a 38-year-old who has been playing in MLS, is a realistic baseline rather than the 90 or 95% that delivered the World Cup in Qatar. Julian Alvarez is arguably one of the 3 best center forwards in world football right now. He is 24 years old. He is at the peak of his powers. He scored 4 goals at the 2022 World Cup and was arguably Argentina's most consistently dangerous attacker. If Argentina were to build a system around Alvarez, genuinely build around him, not as a compliment to Messi, but as the focal point, they might actually be a more complete and more balanced team than the one that arrives with everything orbiting a 38-year-old. But that conversation is not happening in Argentina. Because in Argentina, you do not suggest building a system that does not center on Lionel Messi. Not publicly, not without consequences. The cult of Messi in Argentina is one of the most extraordinary phenomena in the history of football. He is not merely a footballer there. He is a symbol of national identity, of redemption, of the validation that the greatest country in football history, a country that had waited 36 years between World Cup victories, finally has its greatest player alongside its greatest trophy. He won the 2022 World Cup. He is the captain. He is Lionel Messi. And in Argentina, that is the end of the argument. Except it is not the end of the argument, because football does not care about symbolism. Football does not care about what a player meant. Football cares about what a player can do, right now, in this match, against this opponent, at this level. And the honest assessment of what Lionel Messi can do at a 2026 World Cup at the age of 38 after 3 years of MLS football is not the same as what he could do in Qatar in 2022. Let us be specific about the physical evidence. Between Qatar 2022 and the start of 2026 World Cup preparation, Messi will have played 3 full MLS seasons. MLS has a longer season than most people realize. It runs from late February to November, with playoff football extending into December. Messi has played significant minutes across these seasons, which means his body has been under sustained load. The question is whether that load has been at the right intensity to maintain World Cup readiness, or whether it has been enough to keep him competitive at MLS level while gradually moving away from the elite European standard. There are respected physiologists who argue that playing regularly at any professional level is better for maintaining physical condition than playing irregularly at the highest level. There are others who argue that the physiological adaptations required to compete at World Cup level, the sprint speeds, the pressing intensity, the recovery demands can only be maintained by training and competing against players who operate at that level regularly. This debate has no clean answer. But it is a debate Argentina should be having honestly, and it is not. Coach Lionel Scaloni is one of the most tactically astute managers in world football. He built the system that won the Copa America in 2021 and the World Cup in 2022. He is not naive. He knows what the questions are, and you can see, if you watch Argentina's recent matches carefully, the careful way in which Scaloni manages Messi's minutes, the substitutions, the positioning, the way the team is structured to reduce the physical demands on Messi while maximizing his creative output. That management strategy works in friendly matches and in qualifying games where the stakes are controlled. Whether it works across 6 World Cup knockout stage matches, including a potential semifinal and final at the end of a long tournament in the heat of a North American summer, is a different question entirely. The 2026 World Cup will be played across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The climate in the host cities varies enormously from the heat of Dallas and Los Angeles in June to the more temperate conditions of New York and Seattle. For a 38-year-old player, the environmental demands of tournament football in those conditions will add an additional layer of physical challenge that the Argentina Federation will need to manage carefully. And there is one more dimension that nobody is discussing publicly: the mental dimension. Messi has already achieved everything. He has won the Copa America. He has won the World Cup. He has won the Ballon d'Or 7 times. He has nothing left to prove. The fire that drove him through the Qatar tournament, the desperate, painful, deeply personal need to answer the question of whether he could win a World Cup, That fire has been answered. The question is whether a different, quieter, more contented version of that fire is sufficient to produce the performances that Argentina needs from him. Great players have different motivations at different stages of their careers. The hunger of a 5-year-old who has never won the biggest prize is different from the motivation of a 8-year-old who has won everything. That does not mean the older player cannot perform, but it means the nature of what drives him has changed, and changed motivation produces changed performances. None of this means Messi cannot have a significant impact at the 2026 World Cup. He absolutely can. Even at 70% of his Qatar peak, even as a player who comes off the bench, who manages his minutes, who is protected from the full physical demands of tournament football, Messi is still Messi. He is still the player who can produce a moment of individual genius that changes a match. He is still the player whose presence on the pitch changes how opponents defend and how teammates play. But Argentina is not planning for 70% Messi. Argentina is not managing expectations. Argentina is not having the honest conversation about what a 8-year-old in MLS can realistically deliver in tournament football at the highest level. Argentina is arriving at 2026 as if Qatar Messi, the Messi of the final against France, the Messi of the semifinal against Croatia, the Messi who produced arguably the greatest individual tournament performance in World Cup history, is going to walk off the plane in North America and be exactly that player again. He might be. Messi has defied expectations before. He has silenced doubters before. He has produced performances at ages when every objective analysis said he could not. This is Lionel Messi, and the history of underestimating him is not a good one. But defying expectations requires honest assessment of what those expectations should be. And the truth Argentina refuses to face is this. The question is not whether Messi will be at the 2026 World Cup. He will be there. The question is whether Argentina has built a team and a system that can win a World Cup regardless of what version of Messi shows up. A team that can win if Messi is extraordinary. And a team that can also win if Messi is only very good. Because at 38, after 3 years of MLS, the guarantee of extraordinary is no longer there. And Argentina, so far, has not shown that it is preparing for anything less. That is the truth. And it is the truth Argentina refuses to face.